Bill in Missouri. You're live with Eric and J Mike. What would you like to talk about?
Oh, wow, awesome, guys. This is exciting. I'm glad to get in and be able to call.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was just sitting there thinking, I know a lot of questions. I mean, big, awesome subject we're talking about. I did have a question for you, but I was sitting here thinking, I want to ask you, would you be willing to have a neutrally moderated debate with Darth Dawkins?
I've tried to do that already.
They're welcome to call in. They're welcome to call in.
Well, the last time, Eric, I appreciate that. But last time he called in, he wasn't. You refused to let him get his question out.
Bill, if Darth wants to talk to us, he can call us. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I'm just asking, is it okay if would be willing to have a free forum?
Look, I'll debate him. Hey, I'll debate him. You can set that up with me. I talked to him on Discord. He kicks me out before I have a chance to ever really say anything. So you can set that up. But like Eric said, what did you call in about?
Yeah, because if you're just calling
but actually, I think
Bill,
it's on the live broadcast last time. Darth wasn't able to actually get his question.
Bill, if the next thing you say isn't what you want to talk about, we're gonna move to the next caller. I don't want you or anybody else to call in on behalf of other people.
Yeah, we want to hear your argument.
Yeah. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I wanted to know how, atheism, how they have a truth value for the facts and reality.
So you're saying that has to necessitate some reference in God is where you're going to go with that?
Well, you can't have contextless facts, so to need a proper and true interpretation for the nature of the facts and reality, you'll have to have some ultimate context.
Yeah, so I could just say that I could just say that if you don't presuppose naturalism to be true, then you don't have any intelligibility for the contingent natural facts in the world, right? I could use that argument. You would say that's silly, right?
Right. Yeah. I don't.
So why are you plugging in God? So why are you plugging in God for the presupposition as opposed to me plugging in naturalism? Like, what's the difference there between the non-God and God presupposition? Like, why do you get to arbitrarily plug it in? Because it seems like to me, from that perspective, like we could just look at an equation on the board, right? And instead of you actually doing the equation, you're just like, the answer is 12. Well, it's like, well, you could go around the room and Sally Hindu is going to be like, I got 11. And Johnny Agnostic's going to, I don't know the answer, right? But you're just plugging in a number. It seems that the better methodology is to actually apply an evidentialist approach and solve the equation so that you could say, hey, your worldview is inconsistent because I got the answer 12. I didn't just presuppose that it was the case, right? So how do you difference between my presupposition that if I was just to take naturalism as a reductio, how do you take that and show me why that's wrong in comparison to yours?
You're saying a lot there, but the arbitrariness would be on your end. You're arbitrary accepting naturalism over a worldview that would have all the necessary preconditions for intelligibility.
You just glanced over my point. You just glanced over the entire point, though. So what I'm saying is, you just said that's arbitrary. I used the reductio to show you that yours is entirely arbitrary, right? You didn't actually, when you said that, you didn't actually show. You just stated again an assertion that it's incoherent. You didn't actually show me why that's the case.
You have to explain. Can you explain again what you're trying to say?
So you're telling me I'm picking our natural. By the way, I don't have a presupposition of naturalism, right? I have no presuppositions in my worldview. But what I'm going to say is that if I chose as a reductio,
wait a minute. You don't have any presuppositions in your worldview. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, we can get into that in a second, but let's stick one argument at a time.
No, everybody has presuppositions.
We can get into that. Just stick with one argument at a time. Is that okay?
Well, if you're saying that you don't.
So it's not okay to stick to one argument at a time.
Hello? What?
Oh, we lost you for a second. So are you going to go with J. Mike on what you were asking the question about, or are you shifting to a different subject? Hello? Well, it says he's still on the line.
It seems to me his argument is that we're on an island. And the only way to have tools and to be able to get off the island or develop some tools is that you have to presuppose Yahweh dropped you off or whatever God, right? That presupposition does not matter to the state of affairs in terms of developing logic or things like that, right?
Yeah. It sounded like he waited until he heard you say a keyword, and then he waited until his turn to talk, and then jumped off from that keyword. And that sounds rather scripted. And I mean, as long as you're as long as you're talking about that together, I guess having a script isn't terrible. But as soon as it's off the script, if all you do is try and redirect to the script, you're not really going to get anywhere. Bill, I still have you on the line. Are you here?
Yeah, hello?
Hey, there you are.
Yeah, so I never got an answer from him how there was a truth value in facts and reality from a contextless worldview.
So truth values are like, if I have a reference to something, right? Like, it's going to be necessarily assigned, right? I'm going to give a meaning for whatever grunt I make to assign to whatever that is. Like, there's no presupposition of meaning or anything like that, right? You don't have to do that. You start with the experience, right? You can go with the cogito, or you could go with the just experience or whatever. You start at that. Basically, you can't refute that axiom. Hold on. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, what do I mean? What?
You guys keep doing it. Sounds like you guys put me backstage for a bit. I was saying hello, and no one was saying anything. I'm not getting an answer to my question either.
Bill?
You're telling me your experience gives you truth value for your facts?
No, so you start with experience. I don't have to presuppose logic or anything like that, because logic comes after the fact, right? You describe relational behaviors with logic. Logic doesn't inform relational behaviors, which is the presuppositionalist worldview, right? You take this prescriptive aspect. You don't need that. You start with experience, and then you can describe things in your world. It's as simple as the set of all things is reality, or my experience is my experience. It's not my experience. So even if you posit some different ontological basis, like I'm a brain in a vat, or I'm in a simulation, laws of logic still apply, right? Existence or non-existence in that case. It's still going to be applicable as a description of the relational behaviors. You don't need to presuppose or have this thing first to have intelligibility, right? You don't. That's not a thing, and it's not accepted.
So you're just saying you don't need context for facts. But you're just taking a long way around to say it. But you need a context for facts. You can't have contextless facts because
Bill,
you have contextless facts, they could be misinterpreted.
Bill, it sounded like you waited a long time to say that. Could you repeat back to J. Mike what he said?
I was trying to say stuff for a while, and I couldn't. For some reason, no one was hearing me. I don't know what was going on there.
I'm looking at the call-in studio, and you were never taken off of that, so I'm assuming that it was a technical glitch. But Bill, could you repeat back to J. Mike what he said? Because I'm concerned that you're not actually listening.
How is it that I'm not listening when he hasn't even answered my question?
Actually, he did.
I did.
Yeah, so
I literally gave you the base axiom at which I start with.
Right. I said his experience provides truth value for facts. I mean, a schizophrenic could tell me that.
So, Bill,
it's still experience.
Yeah, it sounds like you're waiting for your turn. J. Mike did answer you. It might not be the answer that you like, and you can say I disagree with it. But to say they never answered is just to show that you weren't listening.
No, it was a non-answer. It didn't really tell me about the truth value for all the dependent facts in reality, because he can't.
No, he did. You just don't like the answer, Bill.
No. Well, can you repeat back what he said?
J. Mike,
you tell me how.
I'll speak for myself.
And how he has a truth value. How he has a truth value for facts. Can you repeat back what he said?
Sure. J. Mike, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah. So when you start with, I'm starting with experience, right? Like I said, you can start with the cogito, you can start wherever you want. I'm not actually making an ontological claim that I know I'm in the world I'm in, right? So I don't know. Like, your God could be deceiving me. I could be a brain in a vat. All these things could be the case, right? That doesn't prevent you from gaining knowledge to whatever is presented to you, or whatever ontology that you're within, right? I don't have to presuppose things like logic at all, because it's descriptive of the relational behaviors. And so now it's substitute the ontology of this world, right? Let's say we're just brains in a vat. Still having an experience, my experience can't not be experienced at the same time. So I have non-contradiction excluded middle, and the identity of my experience is within that brain, right? So I can still derive logic regardless of the ontology. I can still have intelligibility of facts because it applies no matter what word salad game you want to use for Descartes' demon or any of that stuff. It just doesn't matter. You can still have intelligibility. Your argument is to say that we have to be basically like we're dropped off on an island and we have to presuppose who dropped us off on the island in order for us to get off the island. That's just not how that works. Well, you don't have to know that information.
I mean, let's ask him, because I don't want to straw man Bill. Bill, would you agree with J. Mike's assessment of what you're saying? Because I really don't want to.
Eric,
what's up?
Eric, I asked you if you understood what he said, so that I knew that you weren't just biasly agreeing with him. Because you're just, he's arguing for the not God position, so of course you're just going to probably have that sway towards that. So I was asking you if you understood what he said, and rather than you explaining it, you just had him re-explain it.
Well, because you answered my question with a question. I asked you if you were listening, and you tried to bounce that back. So I thought, oh, well, this is a good time to
again. I was put back. I was just getting.
No, you're not being put on hold.
Doing it, but I was just.
You're not being put on hold. I actually think I know what's going on. Do you know what ducking is, Bill?
Dude, I was talking. Yeah, you didn't hear me the whole time I was talking.
Yeah. Do you know what ducking is?
A couple times.
Do you know what ducking is?
I know what being put backstage when I'm talking is like, because it was just.
Obviously you don't. You should pray to your God to give you a correct answer. I'll tell you what ducking is. Ducking is what happens. Radio DJs, things like that.
Yeah,
Bill.
Ducking is what you just did a second ago when I asked you what.
Bill, I'm going to explain this to you, but if you're going to talk over me, I will put you backstage for the first time.
Listen,
are you ready? 3, 2, 1, and he's muted. So. Here's what happens. If you have a radio DJ who wants to maybe come in over a song or at the end of a song, when they start talking, the music ducks out of the way. And so what it does is it takes that volume and it ducks it out. That way you can hear the speaker. And so it looks like there's a good amount of ducking being put on J. Mike's call. And because of that, as he's talking, you're unable to interrupt, which I think is fine if you wait your turn and then respond. That shouldn't be a problem. But if your tactic is to cut in and not allow him to talk or to talk over him, then the world just doesn't get to hear how rude you are. But you were getting ducked, and that is an automatic thing. It happens in audio.
Well, there was a demonstration of ducking when he didn't want to go to the argument. He wanted to see if you knew what my position was.
I'm specifically talking, though. He was saying he was getting put backstage, and so ducking in a very specific audio sense.
Sure.
Bill, you're unmuted. Hi, are you there?
Yeah.
Now, did you stop talking long enough to hear my explanation?
Questions.
Hey,
have
Bill.
Answer to the question whether or not
I don't even know if he's listening.
No.
Hey, Bill.
Debate. I couldn't get an answer whether or not you had a truth value for facts. When I asked,
I wonder if I mute him again, if he'll recognize that he got muted.
He should go back and re-watch the video and watch where I put my hand up and said I will debate Darth Dawkins, set it up, and then I went into explaining to him why his methodology of presuppositionalism is garbage and why it's not accepted by literally the vast majority of philosophers or anybody. It's just rejected.
Would you be willing to have a conversation tonight?
I've had 13 conversations with Darth. This is not something new at all. I do this for fun.
We opened it up for people to talk, not for sycophants to get sent over to the show. So Bill,
have one now.
Bill, I'm going to hang up on you if you don't stop to listen. Do you understand me? Yes or no? Do you understand me, Bill?
Yeah, I understand you.
Good. Now listen.
But is he willing? But does he understand me when I ask? Is he willing to have a conversation, free, moderated